out now. Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for Tuesday, December 19th, 2023. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card we are starting our day off with today is, I'm not surprised to see it, my friends, we've got here the 5 of Swords. In its upright, situations and circumstances from the past coming up to the surface today, requiring that time, effort, energy, attention. The retrograde is here. We are in it. We're going to start seeing a lot of cards potentially like this. But again, one of the things I need to stress right now is for the energy of in the divine union frequency, this isn't something that's popping up around you. This is something that you're intentionally moving towards right now. Masculine and feminine energy, especially in the divine union frequency, this is more of that intentionality in addressing anything from the past. Almost coming into the divine union frequency is giving you that sense of empowerment and encouragement because it's energetically shifted you in a way that you now potentially feel like you're getting to do some work that you weren't necessarily feeling prepared to do prior to being in the divine union frequency. So this is going to feel like a lot more intentionality coming through right now if you're already in the divine union frequency. Masculine and feminine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, trying to come into the divine union frequency. This is that feeling of having to address the situations and circumstances from the past that feel like they're trying to pull you out of the divine union frequency. And we're seeing that in very tangible ways right now, particularly related to the masculine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, because what we are seeing right now, and I need to stress this, for the energy that's already in the divine union frequency, this attention to detail, this personal choice to open up and unpack situations and circumstances from the past, or you're doing so at the amplification of the security of the divine union, like deeply nestled and embedded in the heart of that frequency. For the energy that is coming into the divine union frequency, this is much rougher territory because this is potentially pulling you back out of the frequency at the point that you are still building something, which is why we see there may be a dispute opening up right now for a lot of the energy trying to coming into the divine union frequency, or trying to maintain that note of feminine almost saying to masculine, if masculine's trying to look right now and unpack things, feeling like I need to resolve, I need to restore this before we can move forward, feminine is actually looking at masculine and saying, no, you don't. Now is not the time. Now is not the time to be addressing situations and circumstances from the past, because this is almost masculine energy standing in the doorway of coming into the divine union and saying, I just need to go back for one thing. And feminine's almost saying to them, if you go back there, you're going to lose where we are now. If you go back there, if you're trying to utilize this to facilitate building that connection point at the time that you're coming into the divine union, you're never going to find your way back here. You're never going to find your way back here. You're going to get stuck in those spaces and places. It's almost feminine trying to amplify this to the masculine energy that's in this modality right now. Masculine, you may be feeling like that because it is that feeling right now of, again, it almost feels like to a certain extent that point of acceptance. Feminine's almost saying to you, you need to abandon some work. You need to let it go. You need to leave that karmic space in the space that it's in. Because if you continue to try to open up and heal that karmic energy right now, it's just going to zip you back out of the possibility of maintaining the divine union frequency. Feminine is watching masculine right now. What did I say? To see if masculine truly is able to maintain and stay in the frequency of the divine union, or if masculine is overly obsessed with its situations and circumstances from the past and trying to resolve and restore them. This is why there's a moment right now for feminine that this past almost feels like it's a point of confrontation, because this is feminine almost seeing the masculine in this modality making the choice. If this is masculine that is leaving that behind, that is saying, you're right, I'm just going to not deal with it, even if that energy is trying to pull on me right now as they see me coming into divine union. This is feminine going, thank goodness. Thank goodness you're recognizing now that that energy isn't ever going to go away. It's just going to potentially try to pull you out of it. If this is masculine that is moving into this right now and saying, I can't move forward right now with us unless I work through this. There's something that's coming up as we're coming into divine union right now, and I just need to put this to bed. I need to put this to rest before we can move forward. This is feminine energy that's almost immediately seeing that they're snapping out of this back into separation, because this is feminine energy seeing the fact that this is a masculine that is not able and willing to surrender the past to be able to maintain the frequency of the divine union. And this is either feeling like feminine seeing this right now could either feel like this is a masculine that doesn't realize, even recognize it within their own self, that they're not ready to let go of something. Or this is feminine that feels the anger or frustration of masculine, potentially intentionally utilizing them coming into divine union to facilitate building and restoring a connection from the past. Feminine energy in separation right now, this is having to deal with energy from the past right now. I told you, feminine energy in separation, it's not due to a lack of masculine energy coming towards the feminine right now. We see a lot of masculine energy coming towards feminine in separation right now. The problem is feminine is now utilizing past experience. This is feminine energy literally rifling through their own personal closet and unpacking things in relation to the new. This is how feminine energy is navigating whether the masculine energy is healing or not. Because this is the feminine energy that's basically unpacking things right now with the masculine. And if the unpacking of something is sending the masculine scurrying in the other direction, this is feminine energy that goes, this person is not necessarily ready or able to navigate these things right now. They're getting triggered by me trying to bring up the past to be able to heal something. And if the feminine is not seeing the masculine's ability to navigate that territory, feminine is utilizing this right now. Again, the feminine energy in separation is utilizing that retrograde to help them recognize what feels like it's coming towards them that is healed versus what is not. Masculine energy in separation right now, this is a bit of personal journeying that we're potentially seeing, because this is having you unpack and open up situations and circumstances from the past in order to get that better understanding of the self. Masculine energy right now, this is that moment. We saw that recently there was that point of separation, being able to look at some situations and circumstances from the past, from the optics of almost feeling like that was a separate person, which is facilitating your own ability and degree to heal. So we almost see that this is almost an investigation of your past self to ask yourself, what can you do different? What can you change? For a lot of the feminine energy right now, if you're moving towards feminine, you're almost doing this with feminine. You're almost amplifying and articulating and saying, opening up and unpacking your own past. And that way we see that masculine and feminine right now in separation are effectively mirroring each other, but not necessarily in a bad way. There are good mirrors and there are bad mirrors. This is a good mirror. Second card in our 5-card spread is, it's difficult. It's a difficult mirror, but this is also why we like to, utilize, again, we don't want to push back against the space and place we find ourselves in. Even when we're in the Mercury retrograde, finding the ways to facilitate that energy is going to make things easier, even if they're feeling like they're more difficult, because it's almost becoming a bit of a energetic strength training exercise, if you will. Now, masculine and feminine energy in divine union, this is that feeling of just needing to address, this is the intentionality. Like I said, the masculine and feminine energy, again, remember how I said now is not the time for the energy just coming into the divine union frequency? It's the opposite right now for the energy that's in the heart of the frequency. This is masculine and feminine in the heart of the frequency doing the AP level work to a certain extent, because this is masculine and feminine going, it is the time. It is the time to address these things because of, and this is that point of recognition that this is energy that is potentially so deep enmeshed in the heart of the divine union frequency that it is almost that ability to unpack things from the past that the energy itself feels like they are ready to do with a lot of care, fastidiousness, and intentionality. It's almost this point of feeling right now that masculine and feminine are encouraging and keeping their hand on each other's shoulder as they take those steps, because this is a moment that is amplifying and almost seeing that this is not moving them out of the divine union frequency, that this motion isn't one that is indicating a desire to move out of the frequency. It is in a way to try to push the divine union frequency out. Like, you know what I mean? It's trying to push the energy outwards. It's trying to share it. It's trying to expand, right? It's like pushing that border in terms of the energetic feeling. And that feeling that's coming through is one of peace, serenity, and healing. It is taking that energy that the masculine and feminine are now feeling and trying to just extend it. Masculine and feminine trying to come into the divine union frequency right now. You can't do that. You can't be walking into something and trying to pull back out at the same time. You just like, it's not the time. It's not the time, right? Because there's this moment, and we see here that could be a bit of that conflict point that's happening right now. Because even masculine may be feeling and saying, oh, but I just want to restore things right now. I just want to, and feminine's going, no. No, 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 because this is a moment that may be feeling much more like a flux point for the energy trying to come into the divine union frequency, specifically due to the fact that you're just getting the hang of it. It's just starting to pull in. And that feeling and the different you can notice here is that this is the difference between intentionally addressing something in a point of union, making the the energy in the divine union frequency are making group decisions. They're making unified decisions to address things from the past. This is that moment that feels more like it is a conflict point for the energy coming into the divine union frequency, because it's almost that moment that feels like the energy is trying to pull it out. And when somebody's trying to be pulled out of something is not the time to address something, because it's almost like, you know, once you pull out of it, you're not going to be able to find your way back. We see that this is feminine energy. This may be creating a conflict point right now for energy that are just moving into divine union, and how to address the past is literally going to feel like that teaspoon effect, because this is almost feminine and again masculine saying, how much attention are you trying to give to these things? It's a ratio. If you're giving too much attention to things and situations from the past, you're heads up, you're still in relationship with that energy. You're still building a relationship with that energy that could potentially pull you out of the divine union. So we see here that this is feminine and masculine trying, and they're mirroring here. We're now seeing these energies are mirroring. They're trying to ascertain how much energy one is giving to circumstances and situations, because again, if one sees that you're giving too much attention to something that feels like it's trying to pull you out, even if you're trying to say that you're doing it to defend the divine union, it's almost amplifying that it's pulling you right back out. It's taking you out of that frequency, because you're showing that your priority doesn't lie in being within the divine union, but more utilizing the point of conflict that the divine union creates. Masculine and feminine right now in separation. This is that moment that we see here, and this is going to feel like some heavy energy right now, because this is like the Mercury retrograde really starting to, like, you know, come in, if you will. This is that feeling right now of having to address these circumstances and situations from the past. It's either going to be on a metaphysical level right now or on a very tangible level. And it is potentially creating that feeling or sense of conflict right now. Masculine and feminine to a certain extent, and this is what is very intriguing. Feminine is utilizing this to their advantage in a certain extent, because this is feminine that's almost doing that hard work. It's not easy for feminine to unpack these things. This is not something, these are not situations and circumstances that feminine likes to go into this drawer and pull out. But feminine is almost doing so right now with a lot of intentionality to try to ascertain if masculine is effectively, again, run off, if you will. If this sends the masculine fleeing in the other direction, this feminine ability to unpack, to want to go over situations and circumstances from the past, this is feminine feeling like that value point is a masculine that can't handle difficult conversations, that can't handle that difficult, deep work of emotional unpacking. And that's feminine almost saying, okay, good. I got that solved. I figured that one out. Like, masculine, this is potentially a moment that we see here is feeling more like a potential point of personal journey, because we're seeing here that you are wrestling with some of the choices that you may have made in the past. And it is now this moment that, again, it is amplifying how you want to go forward. But in a way, it feels like you have to battle your own self to a certain degree, because something about exactly experiencing something right now, again, either intentionally going back to spaces and places that you recognize you want to heal, or moving forward in some capacity right now, you're facing the experience of seeing yourself through outside eyes, that point of objectivity. It's like it's almost like recognizing, in a way, it's like you feel like that past self didn't do you any favors right now as it relates to trying to move forward in terms of the direction that you're trying to go. Third card in our 5-card spread for today is... Does this one look familiar? We started our reading yesterday with it. All about the unhealed karmic energy right now. Masculine and feminine energy in divine union right now. This is feminine, masculine energy literally moving towards this. This is masculine and feminine energy just facing situations and circumstances head on that they may have felt less than confident to do prior to being in the divine union frequency. This is speaking about that intentionality right now. And masculine and feminine energy almost having that point of recognition, seeing this energy and having that be that point of recognizing that this is masculine and feminine energy that is trying to find that point of recognizing what they feel like they can effectively change versus what is something that is going to kind of be that ongoing frustration, that ongoing pressure. Masculine and feminine energy right now are doing a lot of hard work, if in divine union, to try to ascertain what can energetic connections around the divine union can be healed, versus energy that feels like it's just continually going to be in that point of resistance. And this is almost that point right now of masculine and feminine feeling like that point of recognition that feels like a bit of frustration, because it almost feels like some of that energy, it's like it's almost coming through in a certain extent of just coming into acceptance and saying, like, some energy is always going to be in that way. They're always going to be in that place. It's almost, again, that point of understanding, but almost masculine and feminine saying, again, affirming to themselves that moving forward in this capacity isn't something that they're doing to effectively, adjust or change that energy around them, that they feel like these circumstances from the past unhealed issues around family, friends, things of that nature. This isn't something where the masculine and feminine can just reach in and change. There's a moment of recognizing that difference between what they feel like one can change through actions versus what just needs to be accepted, right? It's like asking and trying to ascertain and say, this is what we can effectively do. The rest is kind of out of our hands, if you will. This has been an ongoing circumstance or situation that we see the energy in divine union has been experiencing and just dealing with. Now, masculine and feminine, and like I said, this is the work that the masculine and feminine energy that have been deep in the heart of the divine union frequency, they're making the dual attention and focus to address, specifically because it is the intentionality of both energies to address those things. It's like the feeling is like energetically mutual and agreed upon. The problem we are seeing right now for the energy that is just coming into the divine union is it feels more like a flux state. It feels more like there may, and especially, and I have to stress this right now, if you're coming into divine union and you want to address these things, it's almost requiring a certain level or degree of mutual agreement. If the energy is mutually agreeing, like I just said, the energy in the divine union is, then lovely. You're moving in that state or space together. You're doing that work together. And that's effectively, again, going to amplify the fact that the divine union frequency is being maintained, because even as it relates to how you choose to proceed in that way, and this is why for masculine it may feel a bit more frustrating, you're doing it with a mindfulness on just how much energy you want to give circumstances and situations. Now, if this is becoming a conflict point, if there is a moment right now where one energy is trying to say to the other, I don't think you should go forward in that way. I don't think you should try to reach out and make contact. I don't think that you should meet. I don't think you should do that. And the energy saying, no, 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 no. I just need to do this. I need to create closure. I need to create closure. It is that recognition that closure is not something that someone else gives you like a Christmas gift. Closure is something that we create within the self. So this is literally, if this is energy looking at someone else and someone being, I just need this to have closure. This is feminine and masculine energy almost feeling that weight, especially if this is energy that's trying to say, I want to do something oppositional to what you're asking me to do to build that sense of closure. This is masculine and feminine energy potentially falling right back out into separation, because it's almost feminine and masculine watching the other energy walk out the door of the divine union, almost saying like, I'm going to go out for milk, and then being like, no, you're not. You're never coming back here again. Like, you can't do that. You can't say that you're going to be able to come back, and like, it's not that you can't pop in and out of the divine union frequency like that. It's almost this point of feeling like, again, the energetic connection outside of the divine union effectively won to a certain extent, right? And that's what we see a lot of this energy potentially moving back into separation. Now, masculine and feminine in separation right now, this is navigating a lot of the energy that's around you at this time. Some of this energy, sadly, may have just fallen into separation because someone is allowing too much ratio of trying, and even potentially, and this is the most maddening thing for a lot of the energy in this modality right now. A lot of this energy is claiming that they're still in divine union. A lot of this energy is trying to say, I'm only talking to you to amplify the connection I have with someone else. But it's almost that point of observation and optics to a certain degree that is almost amplifying that these are circumstances and situations that are not necessarily maintaining that point of the vibration. It's creating that state or space that feels like it is creating pressure. It's like, are you giving the thing that's creating pressure more energy, or are you working to stay in the divine union frequency? For a lot of the feminine and masculine energy mirroring each other right now in separation, there is this moment of having that point of feeling like you are vetting the energy around you to see if you can come into that space or place of feeling like you can build the divine union with it. Where for masculine and feminine right now, this is going to feel like a lot with feminine of just not feeling up for wanting to engage in a lot of outside activity right now, or moving in that state or space of like not really feeling very festive or joyful right now, because you're doing so much of this emotional unpacking of the self right now. And in a way though, and this is what I need to amplify, this is feminine energy utilizing this right now for the purpose of building a deeper connection. This is feminine energy that's almost saying to masculine right now, I don't feel like doing X or Y. I don't feel like going and having fun. I don't feel like doing this. I would love to sit here and talk about things. I would love to just sit around here and unpack some stuff. If you want to come here and unpack some stuff, I'm all for it. But this is feminine almost, again, moving out of that vibration of being like, I'm not looking. This is feminine almost literally saying to masculine energy, I'm not fun. I'm not fun. Like, this is feminine almost trying to amplify the message to masculine and being like, I'm not fun. Do you still want to hang out with me if I'm not fun, right? Masculine in separation right now, this is that moment that, again, is amplifying the space or place right now that we're effectively seeing. That this is building that sense of unpacking. This is that moment of, again, masculine energy. You're doing a lot of work in terms of this personal journey, and it's going to feel a little bit heavier right now because this is masculine energy. We see recently you had these points right now. You're carrying this frustration point. You're looking at some things and from a different optics. You're almost potentially even seeing some version of yourself that's almost been carved into this past version of yourself that you are now feeling, and this is going to feel more like a point of frustration for masculine energy right now, because this is, again, it's feeling like you've been dropped. It's like you've been dropped in the middle of something, and you're no longer the person who like made the mess. But even if that was you, it's that point of accountability of feeling now that you need to address some of the karmic energy of the past self. And it feels a little bit like the frustration of how do you clean a room that you feel like you didn't effectively make the mess in. But again, it's coming from that point of accountability, and it may be feeling a little frustrating because for masculine energy in this modality, it's like, I'm no longer this person. Like, I'm no longer this person, but I need to show and I need to fix in a way the energy of the past self, what they kind of brought into play here. And it does feel like a little bit of an uphill battle right now, because it's almost this feeling of feminine. You're feeling that like resistance point, either again, going back to circumstances and situations, trying to heal them, or even new energy around the feminine, feeling and seeing that trepidation point of feminine being like almost again, even if it's a new connection, feeling like in a way you're still, navigating that past version of self, because this feminine energy being like, no, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to do this. Like it's almost the feminine energy moving into a state of like negation to a certain extent, because you're recognizing and you're understanding why that the feminine energy is building that resistance point due to a lack of trust. And this is what we see right now for a lot of the masculine energy in this modality is almost like, I know why. I understand why. I was a part of that. I'm healing. How do I explain to someone that's anxious? It's going to feel like, it's like, I'm okay. I'm not, I'm coming through in a way that's positive, Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we've got here, and it's hard right now. It's for the masculine energy in separation. This is, again, it's not a laughing matter. I can see it's feeling more like a point of frustration, because it's something that creates an instability point in the masculine. And we're seeing here that this is going to feel very, very difficult for a lot of the masculine energy in separation right now, because it's recognizing or feeling like it does create a little bit of this instability point right now. Because it's almost this moment, and again, this is coming through being an effective mirror, but that's okay. Sometimes being a mirror is difficult. It's seeing yourself in a certain optics and almost trying to say to someone and articulate and amplify and say, that's not me. That's not me. But I understand. It's almost like masculine having to inhabit two different roles of almost having to say, that's not me, but I know who that was. I might have even potentially been that person, right? So either this is masculine trying to come back towards feminine right now and articulate and amplify if this is the restoring and healing of circumstances or situations. It's difficult work because it's almost masculine. You're kind of having to embody a role that accountability point is almost amplifying a past version of self and saying, I wasn't perfect. There was something here I should have done differently. There's something here that I need to take accountability for. But even articulating that feels like a destabilizing moment, because it does almost feel like you're like dropping your armor. It makes you feel like you're coming from a state or space of vulnerability, which is almost amplifying and saying like, why would you want me if I'm able to have that, like who would want me if I'm in that point of vulnerability? And that's that moment that we see that this is almost coming from a state or space of healing, because that's exactly what this situation and circumstance requires. The shedding of the armor, right? The shedding of the armor, coming into that state of opening up, of acceptance, is almost again helping to build that sense of saying like, I am also not here like to put on this artifice. I'm not here to try to convince you of something that is not. I'm trying to be as open and honest as possible, even if it feels disarming, even if it makes me feel vulnerable to do so. So a lot of the energy right now of masculine, this is heavy work, masculine, if you're in separation. This is some heavy work, because doing it is almost immediately triggering, because it's the anxiety that it may not necessarily lead to a positive. It may be feeling like it almost feels like it leaves you in a state or space of feeling like you are very vulnerable and susceptible to where it potentially leaves you, but also recognizing to a certain extent, it's like the situations and circumstances almost require and demand it to a certain extent. And we do see here that it's almost that resistance point for a lot of the masculine energy in separation right now, because it's seeing and realizing that you see that the feminine has their armor up, right? It's almost like the feminine has their guard up. This is feminine that is like, I don't feel safe. And this is masculine going, if you don't feel safe, I'm going to drop my weapons, right? I'm going to let these things go. I'm going to show you that I'm coming here towards you in a state or space of not necessarily trying to facilitate my own motivation. I'm trying to show you that this is something that is coming through from a state of healing. But it's very vulnerable work right now, because it potentially is requiring masculine to open up about the past in a very vulnerable way. Feminine energy in separation right now, This is feminine energy that is effectively moving in this modality with masculine. And it does feel like, to a certain extent, feminine feels, and this is going to feel strange to the feminine, because this is, again, feminine trying to hit that point of being like feminine, almost saying, like masculine's almost saying to like feminine, like you feel like you've got your guard up, and feminine's like, no, I'm being as open and honest to you as possible. That this is feminine that is expressing their past, that is opening up in a way. They're utilizing that accountability of the past, and almost even looking at feminine, having that point of observation and looking at things and saying, I was not perfect in these circumstances and situations. This is feminine almost saying, I am willing to do that. I am constantly, feminine almost saying, I am not telling you these stories to paint myself as I'm not painting myself as like the hero in these tales. I am unpacking my own failures in past situations and circumstances. I'd like to see if you can do the same. This is almost feminine moving into this modality of, again, slowing things down and seeing if masculine energy is able to match in kind. If this is a masculine that is almost able to look at things right now with the same optics and say, do you also have stories where you are not perfect? Do you mind telling me about them? If this is new energy, feminine connecting with new masculine, or if this is feminine that is seeing masculine come back to them from the past. This is feminine, again, not losing the plot, if you will. Being like, are you back because you just are you just inviting me to have a good time? Or are you ready to take accountability for where we left something? Because this is feminine energy that's almost amplifying to masculine, being like, I know you left because you thought I would forget about that. I've got a bookmark. I've bookmarked where we left something. I've got a bookmark right here. We're on page 11. Are you ready to proceed? This is feminine energy that's almost amplifying to masculine and saying, regardless of the time, this is not a forgotten circumstance or assignment. This is feminine energy being like, oh, good, you're back. We were on page 22. And that point to see if masculine is now kind of ready to be in that modality of doing that work. Then if masculine sits down and is ready to unpack with the feminine, feminine's like, perfect. Feminine's almost like, again, not even bringing it up. Feminine just like letting it, like not just continuing forward. And feminine's almost resisting the urge to like almost ask like what's been happening in the intervening time. Masculine, this is that point of recognizing that like even if you're moving towards the feminine energy right now, this is not feminine energy that's forgotten. This is feminine energy that remembers almost exactly what page you left something on. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is that moment of accountability on where masculine is putting their priority right now. And I said, the masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency are intentionally moving towards things that need this karmic healing. The energy that is just coming into the divine union cannot pick up that type of work right now. It is not, you cannot take on a side project when you're still building the thing that you're trying to build. So what we're effectively seeing right now is, again, feminine and masculine looking at one another as the divine union's forming and saying, where do your priorities lie? Are you going to let it go? Whatever it is, yeah, it's not the question that there are energy outside of the divine union that's like somehow provoking and trying to have that kind of action outside the divine union right now. This is masculine and feminine saying, leave it alone, let it go, don't be bothered by it. It's not something that demands your attention. Masculine and feminine mirroring each other right now in the divine union, and potentially feminine trying to amplify this more to the masculine because masculine is more susceptible to it. There's something about this that feels like it's harder for the masculine to let go, that this energy feels like it is a bit more like having a bit more of that anxiety point to the masculine right now. Because we're seeing here that it's making like it almost feels provocative right now to the point of the masculine feeling somewhat unstable. And this is masculine, like again, it's like masculine, like can't resist someone like poking at their abandonment wound, like being like it's almost the masculine like doesn't like to be in this vibration because it almost feels like to masculine like they're giving up on something, because something about this energy feels like it's so provocative that it almost feels like it's trying to goad the masculine energy on. But we see here that this is masculine, that if masculine is working to build and maintain the vibration of the divine union, this is masculine energy finding that point of vulnerability, amplifying, and feminine almost saying like, we can talk through it. If you're feeling unstable because of that outside energy. This is almost feminine saying in the divine energy, like I said, the same energy of feminine and separation. Let's sit down and unpack it. Let's sit down here in the divine union and unpack what you're feeling so that we can create the closure in the divine union without you feeling like you need to go out and move away from the divine union to build that point of closure. If this is feminine that's seeing masculine that refuses to do that, this is masculine being like, no, I need to go, I need to deal with this, I need to address this, I need to go talk to them, we shouldn't do anything, we should hide this because this person and that, but this is feminine saying we're doomed. This is feminine saying this is not divine union frequency. This is energy that is obsessed with the outside, right? It's like the obsession with the outside, the energy outside the divine union is pulling them out of the frequency and is creating that point of separation. So there's a lot of energy that could be falling back into separation due to this right now. And it's that moment that feels really frustrating, the feminine, because this could be a masculine being like, I'm doing this for us. And feminine being like, you're doing it for you. Because this is feminine saying, I never asked you to take up that cause. I would never ask you to go rushing around trying to defend the divine union. I'm asking you to just stay in the divine union. Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency, this is the intentional work right now that we see about navigating and addressing these situations together. But it feels a lot more targeted. It feels a lot more intentional. It feels a lot more like you're putting your care and attention here, due to the fact that this is almost getting very fastidious about your own energy, not wanting to be in a state or space that feels like you haven't tried to apply that like balm of healing on things right now. This is masculine and feminine almost saying like, this is us moving in that way with that desire. And even for masculine right now, there is that moment that does amplify that feeling, especially if this is circumstances or situations that masculine was trying to put that care and effort and attention on. It's almost like creating that space or place of, again, feminine feeling the masculine's pain, feminine reverberating, especially if these are situations and scenarios that the energy isn't necessarily in the same vibration or desiring to heal. It's almost this moment that we see that is almost feminine, like feeling that exact sense, and almost like wanting to rush to the support to the feminine, because in a way it's almost feminine recognizing to a certain extent how difficult this work is, and wanting to support the masculine from feeling that sense of potential rejection and feeling that experience of trying to bring some kind of care and support to something that doesn't necessarily feel like it's ready to receive it. Fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we've got here, I'm not surprised to see it, this card may look familiar. It is the same card that we had yesterday coming through at our bottom of the deck. It is the slowdown. This is the retrograde energy coming into spaces and a bit frustrating, because what we're effectively identifying at this time is it feels like the situations and circumstances are kind of caught in a midpoint. It's like that wait and see approach, if you will. Masculine is in that modality right now as it relates to some of these circumstances and situations. Masculine and feminine, again, identifying these spaces and places, wanting to bring this positivity in, wanting intentionally, if in divine union right now, trying to bring that amplification of like the peace and serenity that you are experiencing in the divine union out towards circumstances and situations that you feel require that level or degree of care and attention. There's that feeling that is almost that adopted wait and see approach in terms of recognizing right now the limitation between, like, there's a pause point. Okay? It's like the pause point between when you give something positive and then you wait to see if it's coming back in kind. And in a way, for masculine and feminine, it's almost like that moment that like is requiring a level and degree of patience. And for the masculine energy, that's something that almost feels a little unstabilizing, because it's that point that you have to kind of just inhabit that not knowing. You have to inhabit that moment of putting something forth and then waiting. It's a lot easier for feminine to do that. And feminine in this modality right now, you might be giving support to a masculine that is feeling that like anxiety coming in, or that creeping anxiety in terms of like saying like, this is what I'm trying to give forth on. This is what I want to happen. This is like what I would like to aspire for with this like emotional gift I'm giving. And this is masculine kind of in that wait and see approach, if you will, as they do so. Masculine and feminine trying to come into the divine, like moving into the divine union frequency right now. This is being caught in that moment between the divine union being able to be sustainable versus like something that is momentary. And it's a sustainability factor right now. This is the feeling. It's almost that recognition point. It's not feeling to a certain extent like something needs to change. It's seeing if you can maintain that vibration. It's seeing if you can hold through on this. For masculine right now, this is almost a moment that feels very provocative, because it's almost that moment that feels like it feels a little unstable, because again, it's not that there aren't situations and circumstances outside the divine union that you feel demand your attention. It's also just recognizing that you just kind of got to let them go to be able to maintain the divine union vibration. And it does feel frustrating, but it's almost this like point of accountability and understanding that we're effectively seeing to a certain extent that is allowing you to maintain and stay in that vibration, though it's hard for the masculine energy moving forward in this way, because it's not necessarily the way you would address things prior to being in divine union. I'm going to say that again. If you're doing something right now and you're saying to yourself, this isn't what I would typically do if I wasn't in divine union, well then congratulations, you're in divine union. That is the whole point. That is that intentionality in terms of maintaining the note, right? You're thinking for more, you're thinking not just from your singular optic. For some of the masculine energy, maintaining this may feel too difficult. It feels too much like, again, all of those off ramps, all of these things that you're passing. It's almost that moment that you're almost like allowing that to be a space or place that you're saying to yourself, like, I just need to address this. And feminine saying, no, you don't. No, you don't. And if this is a masculine that is moving forward right now and almost saying to feminine, no, I just need to go talk to this person. I need to unpack this, and I need to like deal with this thing from the past. If this is new energy coming into divine union, this is feminine going, no, you really, really don't. And this is like literally masculine being like, I'll just be right back. And feminine is almost being like, no, you're not. Because when you're leaving, you're not going to see them. You're falling out of the vibration of the divine union, because I'm asking you not to, and you are. That's literally like the masculine, like it's like closing a door that you can never come back in. It's like you open the door again, you're there, but you're not, because you've closed off the divine union forming, because the divine union is a frequency. Okay? Masculine and feminine in separation right now. Like, it's like, again, it's like you make that choice. You can't come back, because it's like you've already amplified the feminine that's the choice that you're going to make. Masculine and feminine coming in separation. What we are effectively seeing is, again, feminine energy is allowing this to be a modality, especially if this is masculine, that is having that point of accountability, that is having that point of observation. This is feminine energy. Again, this is feminine energy using the act of discernment to determine the energy that truly wants to be in divine union versus energy that feels like it's only serving their own desires. And how's feminine energy navigating that, especially with energy from the past coming back? This is feminine energy that is staying unflagging, learning the stoicism from the masculine energy in healing, even in separation. If this is masculine energy coming back to feminine from the past right now, this is feminine energy that isn't in the mood to do anything different or fun. If this is a masculine that's just trying to like come forward with some kind of event, this is feminine being like, I don't want to do that. I would love to sit down and get back to page 22, where we were last time we tried to have this conversation and you disappeared. Yes, I saved your seat. I've been waiting. I've just been waiting for you to come back to discuss it. I've been doing other things. This is literally feminine being like, I've been doing other things. I've been doing all kinds of other things. But I did not forget the fact that we were on page 22. So if you'd like to sit down and like to return to page 22, we can go ahead and do that. If not, okay, if you're going again, that's feminine going, okay, cool. Right? This is literally feminine utilizing the Mercury retrograde to remind the masculine that they kept a bookmark. Masculine energy, and for new feminine, and for energy of feminine entertaining new connections with masculine, this is feminine energy effectively doing the same. This is feminine saying, I don't really feel like going out and doing things right now. I'd like to unpack some of the things about like that I'm still working through. Are you willing to also do this? This is feminine moving in that vibration of kind of, I'm almost saying to masculine, I don't feel like doing that, But if you want to come hang out here and like talk about some things and deal with stuff, like feminine's like, that's where I am right now. That's what I want to do. Masculine in separation right now. This is that accountability point. This is that recognition point that we see that is feeling like a point of, again, it's almost that sense that you recognize that you yourself are changing, that you've changed. But how do you articulate and communicate to an energy that you've changed, that feels so resistant? It's almost requiring you to effectively open up about how much you've changed. This is literally like masculine energy moving towards feminine right now in the state or space of saying like, yes. Like if this is the masculine energy in this modality, it's almost this point of being like, you know, and some of the masculine energy, this is going to feel more like a point of resistance because some of this change is almost an internal process that you don't necessarily want to amplify to the feminine, but you feel like you must. You know, it's not a comfortable, cozy conversation to talk about the fact that you've made or you've decided to like move into some new convictions for yourself, that you've been doing these, like going through this process of transformation. But we see here that for the masculine energy in this modality right now, it is rising to that challenge of being able to like move into that state or space of vulnerability. And it does feel like a point of stillness, but it's not necessarily a bad stillness. It's almost that moment of recognizing that these things take time. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 5 of Swords in combination with our 7 of Wands. May I please have one card to clarify? Look at this. We've got the perfect match here, masculine and feminine. And again, I need to stress, I want everybody to be grounding today. I want everybody to be grounding today. Because there's something about this energy right now. Again, a lot. We see this a lot when we come into the Mercury retrograde. We have these moments that start to feel like they are unstabilizing. The past starts coming back to the surface, either in intangible ways or in very tangible ways. Having to navigate and address them can feel somewhat triggering. We see that potentially occurring right now for both masculine and feminine energy. How to be able to support one another through it to a certain extent is that value point. Because what are we seeing that's happening right now? We're almost seeing, and this is feminine to a certain extent, especially if this is masculine and feminine in divine union right now. This is potentially, and I gotta stress right now, feminine energy, don't do this. Because there's something here about feminine that's been in this modality. It's been in that state or space where it was almost trying to warn masculine and say like, this work that we're doing, it's triggering. It's unpacking things. It may bring you into a state where you won't feel as stable or as strong as you do now, in that sense of giving forth in something and not necessarily knowing what you're going to get back. So there's a little bit of the feminine today that potentially may feel like, I kind of knew this was going to happen. Like you kind of prepared yourself for having to navigate and find the masculine in this modality to a certain extent. You're like, yeah, it's hard. It's hard when you lead from love and you don't know what you're necessarily going to get back. It's hard to be in that space. It can feel triggering. So we see here in a way masculine and feminine, even in divine union right now, is going through a period or a point that is like, again, acting as mirrors for each other. But again, I need to say right now, making sure that you're not amplifying that instability point, which is why I don't want you to get into that, like, I told you so kind of thing right now. But instead saying like, what can I do to support you? How can I support you? Building that sense of grounding right now is going to be very valuable and important. Because again, it's some of that retrograde that's coming up that feels like it's rocking your own sense of stability to a certain extent. Masculine and feminine coming into the divine union frequency. Masculine and feminine moving in this vibration right now. There was almost this point of recognizing that this is something that you've made that choice on. You made that choice to do some of this work. So it's not feeling so much like something that is kind of like surprising you so much as that moment of recognizing and almost saying to one another, we knew that this was going to potentially happen. We knew that this is like, there's something here that feels a little bit like planned for and expected, which is more like, in a way, is almost that sense of preparation that was navigated to a certain extent, that we saw that the energy was trying to put accounting for, doing the work prior to the retrograde to find themselves at this time. Divine union energy just coming into the divine union frequency, this is going to be a lot harder. Because what we're effectively seeing here is, again, masculine and feminine. This could be a moment where you start triggering each other. If you're moving into divine union right now, it's really important that you don't allow that trigger to amplify and take something bad and make it worse. Masculine, there needs to be a point of observation right now in terms of recognizing that you can't move through divine union from a point and view of autonomy. Making those choices of autonomy will pull you right back out of the frequency, because the minute feminine sees you moving from a point of autonomy, feminine's going to start moving from a point of autonomy. This is masculine. This is why it's so integral to be able to be very careful. Remember when I said about the ratios right now? This is feminine potentially moving into that tit for tat and being like, you do that, I do that. You do that, I do that. You do that, I do that. Right? This is almost that moment, like, again, and we see both energies feeling the pressure of the outside energy, putting pressure on the divine union forming. This is feminine being like, if you're going to go ahead and let that energy, put that care and attention in the energy that's demanding your attention, feminine's like, why don't I do that? Why wouldn't I do that too? This is, again, this is potentially that moment that you're letting that energy pull you back out of the frequency by saying to yourself, I just need to get some closure on something. No, you don't. No, you don't. Closure is something we create within. It's not something someone can hand us. But we see here that there's potentially a lot of energy right now falling back into separation because the retrograde's shining its head and everybody's going, I just need to get some No, you don't. You build closure from within, okay? So we see here that, again, even for the energy trying to stay in the divine union frequency right now, making sure that you both are in that point of alignment and agreement in terms of the choices that you're making right now is very important. Because it's almost that sense of, again, it's like someone's going to be like, I'm just going to go out for milk. I'll come right back. No, you're not. No, you're not. Energetically, you're not. Because it's like the minute, I'm getting here, it's like that energy being like the minute you walk out that door, the minute you choose to open that up, you've almost like fallen right back into separation. You just like, you opened up the like, this isn't a box you're closing by getting closure. It's a Pandora's box you're opening by claiming that you're going to go close it. You're not going to close a box. You're going to open a box. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is why we see that this is hard work that feminine is doing right now. This is not something that feminine wants to do. I got to stress this. This is not the kind of unpacking that feminine feels very eager to do. It feels like it is triggering as feminine does it right now. Feminine is moving themselves into that modality, almost allowing themselves to discuss things that are hard for the feminine, because this is feminine that is like literally, again, feeling that modality and saying, especially with new masculine energy or energy from the past, I can't let something go. If this is new, if this is energy, and this is feminine energy forcing to keep that. This is feminine energy that's literally saying, I can't, like, let me amplify, let me clarify that, because what I just said was inaccurate. This is not feminine saying, I can't let something go. This is feminine saying, I won't let something go. I won't let something go. This is a feminine that says, I could let it go, but this is feminine saying, I won't let it go because it's necessary that I don't. It's necessary that I don't. This is a feminine energy going, I wish I could let this go, but I can't. And by saying can't, they don't mean I can't as in I am unable to. This is feminine saying, I need to. This needs to be addressed. And if this is masculine coming back from the past towards the feminine, this is potentially, again, having an energy that's potentially saying, why won't you let something go? And this is feminine going, because it's not about letting it go. There's no way to move into divine union unless we address what pulled us out of the frequency to begin with. This is why we see that for a lot of this energy right now, if this is masculine trying to come back to feminine, and again, some of the masculine energy, you may already know that this is the case. Fortunately, for a lot of the feminine energy, and this is why, because the masculine energy that is ready to do that work, that wants to come into divine union, they're not even going to have to ask. This is masculine energy that's almost offering it. This is masculine energy that's leading with it. This is masculine energy almost saying to the feminine, I guess I've got some explaining to do. Right? Because this is literally that feeling of masculine having left some work undone. If this is masculine that's trying to show up and be like, hey, you want to do something? That's feminine almost like ignoring it. Like almost ignoring it, because this is masculine that is effectively moving in that state or space where they're observing that they're not ready to move into that frequency. The masculine energy that's healed is almost like, again, they're showing up without their armor on. They're showing up and they're like, it's almost like not even saying a word. It's like masculine energy and separation, just sitting down and being like, I'm ready to do the work now. I know, I see it. And feminine being like, I was waiting. I've been waiting for that. Like, this is, again, just letting it go. Masculine energy and feminine energy is literally like, that's why feminine's holding on to this. This is feminine being like, I didn't want to hold on to this, but I've been holding on to this because it is the hope that we can move into that state or space of healing. Now, masculine energy that is in separation right now, this is that feeling you're moving into healing, and there's that moment that you're almost potentially, again, this is either masculine energy that's looking at new connections with feminine. There's also masculine energy that's looking at past connections with feminine and recognizing that there is a point of healing there. But it's creating that space or that place of understanding how vulnerable it's going to be to have to reforge a connection with some energy around you right now, because it's almost that point of recognizing that that energy, it's almost that feeling or that understanding of knowing like that door's open, but are you ready to do the work that's required to come through it? Right? It's almost that point. It's like, this is like, it's like coming, it's like the feeling of like potentially having to walk back into a classroom and having the tutor there just like waiting and being like, you know, you kind of ran out of here kind of quick. You okay? Like, it's like mass feminists just like sitting there like, are you ready to do this work right now? Masculine energy in separation that is moving towards new feminine. This is almost that moment of, again, feeling like even in that new modality, even with the new feminine energy you're coming towards right now, it's almost that moment that you're seeing or experiencing that feels like you're finding the feminine energy where you left it to a certain extent. But it's that point of understanding right now that is helping to amplify your own healing journey. For the masculine energy in this modality, it's like, it almost feels like, again, having to come into that space or place is building that amplification right now in feeling the need and desire to want to rebuild these connections, whether that be the new energy of feminine that you're seeing is in that point of having their guard up and recognizing and understanding why, or if this is the past connection that you may have a deep, deep understanding as to why. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Five of Swords in combination with our Three of Cups in its reversal. May I please get one card to clarify? Beautiful. We've got here our Nine of Pentacles. Now, masculine and feminine that are in divine union right now, this is how you're grounding one another. This is how you're building that level or degree of support to a certain extent. Because again, it is that motion that you're experiencing and expressing that amplifies what feels like it is in your own modality to change and accommodate for versus what is not. And it's almost that sense of giving each other support right now that is reminding that you're moving in this state or space right now of building that point of security and stability for one another, right? Being able to create that supportive environment for each other deep in the heart of the divine union right now, that is again, feeling like the divine union itself is that safe, secure territory. It's creating an ability right now for the energy in divine union to address things that are not. It's creating a space or state where the intentionality is allowing them to do so, because it's almost like this feeling of like putting this effort and work into things and then coming back to the center, right? Putting that effort and degree and work into things and then coming back into your own center. And in a way, it's almost like feeling that point of personal exhaustion to a certain extent is almost allowing this to be a moment that is almost amplifying how much and how supportive you're able to be for one another, because it's almost this, it's like reminding you about the difference in what you're dealing with or what you're trying to fix versus what you have, right? It's like that comparison is what is allowing for this possibility of healing to come through. Masculine and feminine right now that are trying to come into the divine union frequency, this is that point that is articulating where someone actually wants to be. And this is almost, again, masculine and feminine amplifying. If this is energy around you right now, we see here that this is potentially being mirrored in the energy. If this is an energy that's building a point of union right now, the divine union is forming here, and there's some kind of outside circumstance or situation. If this is someone being like, we just have to move to do this. I just need to do that. They want to do this. They want to do that. It's like this is feminine and masculine looking at each other and saying, who? What are you talking about? That's attention is deviating you from being here. And so masculine and feminine right now are almost looking at this. And again, for the energy that's staying in the divine union, this is coming into mutual agreement, aligning in your determination on what to do about those things together is amplifying whether the divine union stays forward. If this is energy that's taking this as a point of autonomy and saying, I just got to go take care of this first. Before we can proceed forward on this, I need to talk to this person. Before I do this, I need to do this. Before I do this, I need to do that. Like, if this is energy that is creating these caveats or being like, we can't, have to do that. Like, this is like, if this is like letting that happen, this is almost that moment that like you're falling right back out of the divine union frequency, because again, it's almost seeing that someone's care and attention is more about the outside energy than preserving the sanctity of the divine union. Feminine energy and separation right now, this is feminine energy having a point of really building a sense of the feminine energy and separation has created a level or degree of personal comfort right now within their own self. And what's interesting about it is it's not the fact that this isn't a triggering circumstance or situation, but this is literally feminine energy right now in separation that's become comfortable being uncomfortable. This is a feminine almost amplifying the masculine, saying my gift we're seeing here for the feminine is trying to force themselves in this modality, unpacking things to a certain extent, amplifying and saying, I am someone who is trying to become comfortable having uncomfortable conversations. This is feminine almost willing the uncomfortable situation, almost amplifying the masculine and saying, this isn't comfortable for me either. I don't like having to have these type of conversations. This is a feminine saying, I'm not doing this because I want to. I'm doing it because it must be done. Because this is how feminine is almost amplifying and saying, we need to, if we're building a divine union, we need to think about that together. And this is feminine saying, you need to be able to sit with me and have uncomfortable conversations. I have moments that we are able to unpack things. And this is feminine trying to suss out and understand if the masculine energy around them is also up to that task, because it is so important in order to be able to be in a divine union, to be able to have an uncomfortable conversation. Masculine and feminine right now, if this is feminine that's welcoming in old masculine energy, this is literally feminine energy looking at that energy and saying, I have the bookmark here. This is how feminine is trying to ascertain if this energy is ready to do this work, because this is literally feminine energy saying to masculine, are you ready to do the work? Right? And this is masculine potentially. Again, this is either seeing the masculine, if from the past, sitting down and saying, I'm ready to do this work. Or this is sending the masculine energy in the other direction. If feminine is going, and even then it's something that potentially feels more like it's triggering, because it's almost reminding the feminine that there's something here potentially that they aspire for with the masculine, but that the masculine that they aspire to build the divine connection with isn't ready to do the work that is required to maintain one. Masculine energy in separation right now, this is that moment that we see that you are moving forward right now. And again, especially if this is a circumstance or situation where you have been doing a lot of these changes for yourself, there's something that is happening right now with the feminine that is difficult, because if this is a moment that you're trying to move back towards feminine, having grown in your own process and taking that personal accountability, there's a recognition here with masculine that there may be a door open towards the feminine. There's just a very uncomfortable conversation that needs to happen between you and that energy to go through that door. This is masculine energy, again, almost recognizing and feeling the weight of having potentially circumstances and situations from the past and looking at something and recognizing that there is a path to healing there. It's just on the other side of an incredibly uncomfortable conversation. And whether the masculine is ready to have those difficult conversations right now, masculine, this is that modality that we're seeing that's either leading you back towards that energy and saying, like, I am ready to have a difficult conversation. Or potentially finding new energy around you right now and feeling like almost that vibration of the other feminine kind of being in this modality of not necessarily feeling eager to like go out and do things, but rather to sit down and unpack things. And that's almost putting you in the same space or place, because again, it's that observation of seeing the feminine so guarded and understanding why, that is now creating that moment that feels like it's such a hurdle, because it's almost that moment that you kind of have to allow yourself into that same state and space of vulnerability. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Three of Cups in its reversal in combination with our King of Pentacles in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? We've got here our Three of Wands in its reversal. We keep seeing this card coming up over the last few days. Masculine and feminine. One of the things that's so difficult right now is, again, there's a bit of a wait and see that's happening for the energy in the divine union right now. Masculine and feminine, you're feeling that mutual feeling of a slowdown. Things are just grinding to a halt right now. But this is the retrograde energy, coming through to a certain extent. And it's almost a moment right now that, again, having that point in mutual support is what is so important. Because there's almost this point of observation right now that, again, you don't necessarily ever know what outside energy is doing with whatever you're trying to bring towards it. We see your masculine and feminine in divine union are trying to bring positivity to circumstances and situations. There's a little bit of a question mark as to how it will be received. But we're seeing here for masculine and feminine divine union right now, this is that point of, again, having already accepted this as a logical result of whatever this is, was something that you kind of prepared yourself for. So it's easier for the energy in the divine union, in the heart of the divine union frequency, because this was something that was, this lack of optics was effectively anticipated, right? That was what all that preparation energy was for, right? And now it's almost like supporting one another in that modality right now is all that is kind of required. Masculine and feminine trying to come into the divine union frequency right now. This is that moment that feels like it is much, 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 much more triggering, specifically due to the fact that we see here that it feels like there's energy trying to like create these points of pulling you out of the divine union to a certain extent. But this is almost that moment of masculine recognizing that it is all about how much attention you give to outside energy. As we said, mastering the ability of emotional regulation, one teaspooning something, looking at things right now and saying, what demands my attention? And what does that look like? Making sure that you're doing that in a modality of mutual accountability in terms of what you're putting your time, effort, energy, and attention in right now is what is navigating and showing the energy that's going to be able to maintain the frequency of the divine union versus energy that allows those like outside forces and those outside energies to yank you right back out again. And for masculine, it is feeling to a certain extent like a point of frustration, and a bit more frustrating for the masculine, because again, it almost feels like some of this energy is almost, creating these spaces or places where they're trying to make you feel like you're left out. They're trying to make you feel like there's a lot of energy here that like feels like the trigger point for a lot of the masculine energy is the feeling of being left out, right? Masculine, if you're in this modality right now, you may be starting to realize that about yourself, that you may get very easily triggered by energy that can pull you out of the divine union frequency by just making you feel like you're being left out. You can't sit with us kind of energy, right? So for masculine in this moment right now, it almost is that point that we're seeing trying to move into divine union of feeling like some energy that you're feeling that reactivity point on, that in a way is almost demanding your attention right now, but almost realizing and seeing that that is potentially something that needs to be healed within the self. You know? Right? That point of feeling like the healing starts here. And for the feminine energy as well, because it's almost that moment of recognizing to a certain extent that this isn't a moment of being left out. It's a moment of making the choice towards the energy that you're choosing to direct your attention towards. This is almost, again, allowing those optics to come into play of jealousy, allowing those optics of feeling like, you know, you're missing out on something. The minute you start feeling like that, the minute is you're going to get yanked right out of the divine union, because it's almost that moment that you forget that the divine union is the goal. It is where you want to be. This is why we see right now, if there's feminine energy seeing a masculine saying, I just need to do this, I just need to do that before we go into divine union. This is feminine being like, they don't know, they don't understand. That's never like, this is feminine recognizing that this never stops. And if masculine hasn't maintained the ability to recognize that, then there's never going to be a possibility of divine union, because this is masculine almost looking at every energy around them as like, not seeing that they're just exit ramps that take them away from the divine union frequency. Masculine energy right now, so for masculine and feminine that are recognizing this, it's almost creating just a space or state where it's like, again, water off a duck's back. No thanks. I don't care. I don't care. You know? It's fine. Whatever you want to do, right? It's like the water off a duck, like 1 teaspoon, right? Making that point of mutual acceptance and understanding and being like, I cannot say to you how much I don't care about it, is exactly like the energy that helps you maintain that point. Now, masculine and feminine that are in separation right now, this is why we see the feminine energy so exhausted right now with the masculine. Because it's almost feeling like masculine energy can't keep their eye on the prize. It's like masculine energy that feels like they're too easily distracted by, like, you know, the small tokens on the ground versus keeping that sense of like vision. And feminine right now, again, unpacking with masculine to see if masculine has this ability, is almost feminine saying to masculine, you know, do you understand what the bigger picture looks like? Do you have an optics on that? What does your bigger picture look like? What is it that you truly want? This is why feminine's like, no, I don't want to go out and have a good time. I want to know what you want to do in the next 3 years. Where do you see yourself? What do you want? What does that look like? Tell me what that looks like. This is feminine being like, I don't want to go get a drink. I don't want to go I don't want that. I don't want to go dancing. I want to find out what you are doing here and where do you plan to go? And feminine literally being like, if you want to sit down right now and talk about these things, this is feminine being like, you can sit down and talk about these things. But if you want to do those other things, then you can go off and do them yourself. This is feminine getting very much like in that point, because the feminine is almost at that point saying, I need to understand what your vision is and what that actually looks like, and whether you're putting that care and attention of foresight into your actions right now. Feminine's doing this either with energy of masculine that's trying to come back towards them from the past right now to see if they've learned these lessons, or with new energy that's trying to move towards feminine at the present. Being like, show me what that looks like. Walk me through it. Masculine energy in separation right now, this is a moment that we are effectively seeing that you are hitting that moment that, again, may be recognizing that your inability to bring that point of optics to some energy from the past may have led to some energy around you moving away from you to a certain extent. because it created a state or space of feminine feeling unstable. And this is almost a masculine recognizing it's almost that point of the feminine energy right now. If masculine's going towards feminine and saying, yeah, that energy of the feminine I was with was very unstable, there's almost the energy of the around the feminine masculine again going to them being like, the feminine was unstable? That's weird. Can you tell me what that looked like? Can you tell me what that was? Because this is almost the feminine waiting to see if the masculine goes, the feminine energy was unstable because I was unstable. Right? Masculine taking that point of accountability. This is literally the feminine masculine saying, the feminine was in a point of instability because I was unstable. Taking that point of accountability, that point of personal understanding, that clarity of focus. For the masculine in separation right now, it creates that point of recognizing and saying that your ability to foresee, to articulate, to lay that path forward for yourself is not just something that you do for yourself. It's something that you create for the feminine as well, because it's the optics through which you are able to maintain a vibration of a divine union. You can't just be in the moment. You need to kind of build that going forward, like sound travels. You need to you need to be able to just be in that moment of going in a direction instead of creating that shiftlessness of the present. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. But this could be leading to a little bit of a moment right now for masculine, especially if in separation, that feels a little unstable right now, because it's almost that point that, again, moving into this vibration is almost making you kind of ask yourself, where are you moving? What does that look like? What is your plan? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our King of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Death card in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our World in its reversal. It's a retrograde, guys. We're not surprised to see these cards in these positions. It's not surprising. We've got a lot. And so again, masculine and feminine right now in the divine union. And I got to stress this right now. I swear, feminine energy, I do not want to hear, for any of the feminine energy right now in divine union, I do not want to hear, and I told you so, slip your lips. I know you're thinking it. I know you're thinking it potentially. You're potentially seeing the masculine in a state or space that you were potentially anticipating right now. I don't want you to say it. I don't want you to say it. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that moment, okay? Because what we're effectively seeing right now is, again, there's potentially for feminine right now, seeing masculine almost kind of build that point of instability here, potentially having wanted to lead to the heart space, and now not necessarily kind of being able, there's a moment right now that even with the best of preparations in terms of feeling something here, there could be a lot of that feeling right now for feminine of kind of seeing masculine hit that rocky moment. That for the feminine is almost feeling this is feminine being well, this is, feminine was foreseeing this a bit more. Feminine was anticipating this because this is well-trod territory to a certain extent for feminine. But this is almost feminine kind of moving in that vibration of navigating these circumstances or situations. Why? Because feminine energy is a lot better at intentionally allowing a point of instability in order to get to deeper stability. Right? This is feminine energy that's literally I'm very comfortable with hitting those points of instability within the self. This is feminine that's actually much more comfortable with that right now. So in a way, again, it's really important right now, even for the energy and divine union, that feminine you don't amplify, especially if you feel the masculine kind of even if you anticipated this, because we see here that this could be a moment where we're seeing that masculine's feeling a little unstable, even though their intentions here were effectively pure to a certain extent. We see here that even for some of the feminine energy right now, kind of coming into that state or space of trying to support the masculine in this modality is going to feel a little bit difficult, because it was something that you feel to a certain extent that it could have, I'm kind of getting offense here, feminine being that's why I'm seeing that I told you so, kind of no, just don't do that today. Okay. It's almost this moment of just being able to hold space for each other in feeling that point of instability right now, I think is going to be very important, because we see here that there's this moment right now that's something about the waiting, if you will, something about that hold point. This is not the time or space to like, you know, get further ungrounded. It's almost this moment that needs to like amplify, like grounding each other in this moment, because there's almost this feeling right now of like allowing that feeling to magnify that could feel like a little disorienting. So you want to navigate that right now, and you want to make sure that you're not like letting it create that sense or space of chaos right now within you, because this could either go each way, which is, again, this could be a moment. I'm even saying right now, remember I told you this, even in divine union right now, there's some kind of like energy right now of one being upset and the other one potentially reflecting it. We don't want to start to mirror what we don't desire. We want to just call a halt to it as it's occurring. But for both energies right now, it's almost that moment of not letting yourself be triggered in that capacity is going to be important, because we see here that there is this moment right now of, again, navigating something. And this is what we're seeing, navigating that point and recognizing something that was anticipated, right? So navigating that right now, it's going to be very important. And it's going to require for the divine union to really focus on just grounding your energy and like accepting what you can't control, not feeling. And again, it's almost that moment of, again, having that point of recognizing what is in your facility and ability to control versus what is not, is going to be very helpful right now. Now, masculine and feminine that are coming into the divine union frequency, this is the outside energy that is potentially pulling you out of the divine union frequency. Masculine and feminine right now. Again, masculine and feminine in divine union are just mutually trying to navigate external chaos, right? Masculine, but this is something that is like requiring them to ground in energy, even in the divine union right now. But this was something that feels much more anticipated. Masculine and feminine that are coming into the divine union right now, this is that observable point that you're experiencing as it relates to the fact that there's energy around you that, again, isn't within the divine union. It's creating that point right now that feels, and again, it's almost like that point of like chaos in terms of identifying what you feel like you need to control and what you need to let go. If this is masculine and feminine, they're looking at circumstances, situations, and being like, I just need to go give more energy to that. This is masculine and feminine saying to each other, coming into divine union, no, you don't. If something is being chaotic, if something is being problematic, the solution isn't to go navigating it, especially if you're in the heart of the divine, coming into divine union right now, because it's almost just going to completely like, cause that point of conflict. It's going to like arrest your ability to maintain the frequency of the divine union, because almost like that point of recognizing that energy is always in some way, shape, or form going to be there. It's about where you put your time, effort, and attention. Masculine, feminine is literally watching masculine right now. Masculine is watching feminine to see and articulate on whether you're able to maintain your focus, whether your eye is on the prize of the divine union, or if you're going to let that like chaotic energy around the divine union pull you right back out. Even trying to articulate and say, I just need to take care of X, Y, and Z. No, it's like, no, you don't. You're staying that, and you're literally saying that you're not moving into divine union, because that energy is always there. This is giving me a lot of that moment that we're seeing, that it's like recognizing that like the circumstances and situations around you will always be not ideal for what you're trying to create. It's your own ability to navigate and to hold forth when they're not that amplifies whether they're actually there or not. So for a lot of energy right now, there could be this feeling of trying to address outside circumstances and situations, trying to like put the divine union on hold to navigate those, is almost amplifying why you're not being able to maintain divine union, because life doesn't stop to create the ideal circumstance and situation for a divine union to occur. It moves, it exists despite the circumstances and situations not being ideal. Continuing masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is feminine energy, seeing and feeling a lot of that masculine energy coming back towards them, potentially even from the past right now. But this is literally feminine energy looking at that energy, whether it's new energy or old energy, and saying, are you going to be a part of the problem? Or are you a part of the solution? Are you coming from a state of just kind of moving again, not necessarily having a focus point, not really having like a desire or determinative action in terms of what you want in the future? Are you just coming in with the same chaotic energy? Or are you ready to make that change? And this is feminine, again, employing that moment right now with either, again, old energy from the past is coming towards the feminine, or new masculine energy coming forward to the feminine, because we see here that this is a feminine energy that is leaving themselves open to see and hear and have a masculine articulate what it is that they aspire and desire for right now. But feminine, quick, very, very, very ready, like finger on the trigger to close anything off that they feel is coming towards them in a way, shape, or form that they're not able to articulate and amplify this, because this is feminine energy just almost saying like, I don't welcome, like feminine's like, I am putting a stop to allowing chaos beyond the front door. It needs to stop there. You come in, you take off your shoes, you're able to like communicate, then you can sit down and do this work. If you're in that modality, again, that like China shop experience, this is feminine being like, you can stay on the other side, because this is feminine almost again amplifying that they're looking for the energy that is willing to move forward into that divine union frequency. Masculine coming into moving in separation right now. This is that moment of observation around circumstances and situations from the past that are amplifying what it is that you truly desire now. And we're even seeing that for a lot of the masculine energy right now, it does feel like there's something here that may feel somewhat destabilizing. I need to stress, everyone needs to be very, very kind to each other today, because there's a lot of triggering energy here. It's more of a question of navigating some of that feeling right now, because especially for masculine energy and separation right now, there's a lot of this chaotic energy that you're also navigating in terms of feeling, like we said, you're going through this moment where you are kind of like caught between your past version of self and your present version of self, right? We see here that a lot of the masculines in that modality of finally being able to come into that state or space of healing. But it does feel like in a way that the retrograde itself is kind of causing you to have to stay in that like modality right now that like feels a little unstable. It feels like you're vulnerable. And it's almost, again, feminine energy is almost pushing you into that same level or degree of vulnerability, because this is feminine energy that is much more comfortable in feeling vulnerable like this. So we see here that a lot of the masculine energy, this may feel like somewhat triggering right now, because again, something about navigating or reaching this level of vulnerability for yourself is almost facing your own internal sense of ungroundedness in order to unpack some things right now. So this is some heavy work right now for masculine energy and separation. So being able to focus on grounding and being open and expressive is going to be very key. And it's also really going to be really important to be able to amplify what it is that you truly want. Continuing to get clarification on the cards right now between our Queen of Pentacles in combination with our Nine of Pentacles. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Six of Pentacles. This is exactly what we're seeing right now that is creating that space or place of potential frustration. Because again, we're caught in the middle of the Mercury retrograde. Things are not moving as quickly as you would aspire or desire them to. And it is that moment of slowness that is so frustrating, because it's that moment of that point between, hold on a minute. There's that point between a point of observation in terms of feeling like that quietude that's happening right now, whether it's actually coming from like someone, whether things are getting slowed down because energy is navigating their own hurdles right now, or whether there's that like quiet between, like it's like the stretching of the connections, if you will. Even in the divine union right now, it's like that wait and see can feel very ungrounding for masculine and feminine right now, even in divine union. But again, the energy in the divine union are helping to support each other through some of those moments right now. But I will stress that even now, it's really important to be able to not necessarily trigger each other, because we're seeing here that even for the energy right now in divine union, there's the possibility that you're both feeling very triggered by it. This is masculine and feminine basically effectively matching each other in divine union. The energy right now that is coming into divine union, this is the outside energy right now. It's almost that feeling, and again, it's going to be harder for some of the masculine energy, that fear of missing out, the energy pulling back, you know, maybe even feeling like energy giving some kind of like emotional ultimatums, you know. That's a moment right now that is potentially amplifying to the masculine and feminine. If you're staying in the divine union right now, it's all about where you put your time, effort, and energy in. And so this is that point that we see, and this is going to be very difficult for the energy right now coming into divine union, because it feels like masculine and feminine are both mirroring each other right now. And this is almost, again, feminine and masculine saying to the other energy, don't give anything chaotic or anyone trying to come in your attention. Recognize and understand what feels like it is important and, you know, protective of the divine union, versus spaces and places that feel like they're trying to like pull you away from it. Both energies right now in divine union are basically trying to say, like, portion out what you give. Use that rationale, because that ratio of how much energy and attention you give things outside the divine union are effectively amplifying whether you're staying in divine union right now or not. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is feminine literally are articulating this to new energy coming towards them right now if in separation. This is feminine potentially even articulating to masculine and right now in separation, saying, tell me what it is that you actually desire, because feminine is feeling the anxiety of masculine energy having an inability to maintain consistency as it relates to their own ability or degree of maintaining and staying in the divine union frequency. This is feminine and masculine. This is feminine even potentially unpacking this right now with some energy that they may have had that with at some point, but that wasn't able to maintain it. So this is either feminine articulating this to other masculine energy, if this is new energy that the feminine is opening up to right now. And this is hard because it's almost feminine energy, almost amplifying and saying that there was something effectively out of their own control in response to like how they were experiencing something. But this is almost feminine, almost amplifying to a certain extent and almost taking accountability in the process. This is feminine taking accountability in their own story in terms of, again, articulating, saying, I was not perfect. But this is almost feminine saying, I was not perfect because I saw that they weren't giving me something the way that I would expressly desired, the way that I wanted, because it's almost feminine telling that story right now that we're seeing about the energy over distributing their affections and their energy to outside energy. And this is literally feminine energy in separation being like, I couldn't take seeing that. I couldn't take seeing the masculine energy claiming that they wanted to be in divine union, but clearly not giving it the energy that was required to be in divine union. This is feminine energy almost amplifying this lesson right now to new masculine energy, or having that point of masculine energy articulating and amplifying and saying, do you recognize why you were pulled out of the divine, why we were pulled out of the divine union frequency? Do you recognize what was happening? Do you recognize what I see? For masculine, if you are going towards a feminine right now that you're trying to move back into the divine union frequency with, this could be that moment of observation and, again, accountability of the self, recognizing and saying, you're right. I let an energy pull me out of the divine union frequency. I let that energy yank me out of it. All while claiming I was doing it for the sake of the divine union. But you're right. I let that energy take that advantage from me. I let them do that, and I let them pull me away from the frequency. So this is either, again, masculine energy going towards feminine energy with that point of accountability and understanding, or this is masculine energy that is moving towards new feminine energy and feeling the feminine almost amplifying and articulating this message, or seeing why the feminine is so cautious right now in fearing that the masculine energy does not have the ability to control themselves from being pulled out of the divine union frequency by all of the energy around them. This is like almost creating this like anxiety or this cynicism in feminine of masculine being able to resist the temptation of outside energy. Now, masculine energy and separation right now, this is that potentially observable point in seeing how your own ability and degree of building something for yourself in the past has been taken from you from some of this inability of being constant, right? It's that journey again of the constant gardener and recognizing that you can't one and done a divine union. It's something you have to constantly put your intentional care, effort, and energy into right now. And for masculine and separation, there's something very heavy coming through right now in terms of you having that amplification point and either, again, returning to other energy from the past and saying, I see that now. I see how I may have made you unstable because of my own level or degree of not putting in what I needed to put in to maintain the point of stability. Or this is you taking that point of accountability with new feminine energy to try to amplify how far you are also working to heal. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 9 of Pentacles in combination with our 3 of Wands in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? We've got here our Knight of Pentacles in its reversal. Masculine and feminine in divine union right now. This is that moment. Like again, there's a lot of energy here of masculine just feeling that point of instability to a certain degree, or that anxiety point, because what we're effectively seeing right now is almost that amplification right now for masculine energy in terms of feeling that weight in wanting to give forth in a certain way and recognizing that level or degree of not being able to control what comes back to you from it. For masculine, to a certain extent, this is frustrating because in a way, for the masculine energy and divine union, it's building that sense of like anxiety in your own ability. It's coming through a lot as like an energy of feeling that point of anxiety about your own ability to like manifest what you're trying to manifest right now. You know, it's almost that moment. There's that wait and see, right? Masculine energy, we're seeing here that one of the problems is like this ability to be patient through difficult situations is a challenge zone. It's something that's harder for you. We see here that for the feminine energy right now, recognizing that the masculine may be a little bit triggered today because of the patience that some circumstances and situations are demanding is incredibly important to make sure that you yourself are not also triggered. Because what we're really seeing here right now is, again, a masculine energy that is feeling that point of frustration in terms of what they're hoping to achieve and having the optics that they would require in terms of what is occurring that is creating that point of frustration for the masculine energy in union right now. And it's not necessarily something that the feminine is creating, but it's something that the feminine has to like navigate and deal with, you know. It's almost like it's going to feel a little bit like a masculine, like coming through as a point of frustration here. Feminine energy in divine union right now. This is feminine energy that's able to navigate this feeling a bit more. This is feminine energy that's like, it's a little bit easier for feminine to move into that wait or see to a certain extent. But again, making sure that for feminine, we see here that the anxiety point is potentially feeling or worried that the masculine energy withdrawing in this way or feeling that point of anxiety isn't one that's directed towards the feminine, so much as we're seeing here that it's really about the masculine just kind of inhabiting that space or place. Almost seeing here to the feminine, like almost looking at the masculine to a certain extent, being like, is there anything I can do to help you through this? And masculine almost being like, no, there really isn't, but you are. Like you're always, almost like them being like, you always are, you are, because this is masculine being like the environment that we create together is helping the masculine navigate these spaces and places, even if they're difficult. It's rough terrain. because it's requiring that wait and see. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is entirely about the masculine not taking the bait in terms of situations and circumstances that are pulling them out of the divine union frequency. And this is feminine almost saying to the masculine and saying, you know, you should be here. This is where your attention is. And if this is masculine, almost saying, like, again, trying to put off to a certain extent, trying to be like, well, once I do X, Y, and Z, or this or that, you know, this is feminine energy trying to articulate and amplify and being like, you know, if we found the divine union frequency, you can't just walk away from it and expect it to be there when you come back. It's not something that you can pick up and put down again. It's something that you have to always maintain. And this is literally feminine almost trying to amplify this to the masculine. And this is, again, if this is a masculine being like, I just need to do this. I just need to do that. I just need to talk to this person. I just need to go here. This is feminine almost looking at masculine being like, you're walking out that door, but you don't realize it's an energetic door and you're never going to be able to come back again. Like, we need to maintain this frequency. And if you move away, this isn't something that you can just pick up and find, because it's almost feminine saying, feminine is almost amplifying to masculine. It's not in my power to maintain that connection if we're not both building it together. So if you're moving in a state or space of autonomy right now and saying, just need to do this or that, feminine's like, that means never. That means like we can't maintain the vibration. Masculine coming into divine union right now, this is that moment that you may be feeling again. You're recognizing that some of that energy around you, like, you're just seeing it for what it is. And if you're seeing it for what it is, it's helping you focus and recognize that you're almost moving into that state or space of surrender to a certain extent. But it feels kind of frustrating because it's almost that feeling of having to just let something go. And it's hard for the masculine to embody this to a certain extent, because it is that moment of recognizing that some of the energy around you just doesn't necessarily like feel like it's going to be supportive of you being in that divine union frequency. You know, it's almost that point of masculine. Again, for the masculine energy in this modality, the way it gets easier is almost looking and saying, like, again, realizing how much of your own attention or effort or energy you're willing to put into something to a certain degree. Looking at something to a certain extent and saying, like, I'm willing to give it this much of my attention and let it go is what is necessary to be able to maintain the point of the power of the frequency, to be able to stay in that divine union energy right now. But it's feeling like a bit of a challenging space, because again, it's almost like your own fear of missing out on things right now is like pulling you into that sense or state of feeling frustration as you do so. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is the feminine energy in separation, effectively amplifying potentially, again, either to old energy that's coming back towards the feminine during this retrograde period, or new masculine energy that is approaching feminine. This is that moment of feminine being able to be in a point of being able to articulate something very clearly about what occurred between them and masculine, and potentially articulating and amplifying either, again, speaking to masculine energy that's almost willing to take that accountability. Almost again, and what is the masculine energy saying to the feminine right now to build that bridge? Is the masculine almost being like, I can tell you exactly what happened now. I can see it with my full eyes now. I couldn't then, right? This is almost masculine saying to the feminine, I couldn't then. This is why we see that this is the act of letting down one's armor, because this is masculine almost again coming to that point of vulnerability and being like, I can tell you exactly what happened because I've now grown enough that I see what was happening, and I see what I wasn't giving you, or I see how I was moved away from you. I can see these things now that I could not see then. So this is masculine energy, again, coming towards feminine, amplifying their own healing journey by being able to articulate to feminine just how much they've changed, just how much they've been able to make that point of accommodation and adjustment. Or this is masculine energy coming towards new feminine energy with that point of optics, with that point of understanding, rectifying and being able to address and say, you know, in the past, I wasn't able to move towards this. Now I know what I need to do to be able to maintain that frequency. Now I know what I need to do to be able to come into that space or place of building what like would ideally be that like, it's almost this point of masculine being like recognizing and saying, it's what I do right now. It's what I do in the moment. That there isn't this like aspiration of where to go. It's what I do right now that helps the masculine be able to also recognize that that is how you come into the point of rectification. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Between our Three of Wands in its reversal in combination with the World card in its reversal. One card to clarify. We love this. We've got here our Fool energy. Masculine and feminine in divine union right now. This is that moment. This is that differentiation point again. And I have to stress, we've been seeing this over and over again for the energy coming into the divine union frequency. Amplifying what you can control versus what you can't. Masculine and feminine are just having that point of optics right now, which is like, again, there's like this feeling of being able to say to themselves, like masculine and feminine are like trying to foresee every circumstance that they can beyond the things that they can't control. Like there's always an element here that you can't foresee or control things. But masculine and feminine are almost building that sense of optics and almost, and this is the beauty of the divine union frequency. It's like the only thing that divine masculine and feminine can't control are the things they can't control. Right? And it's almost like working from that modality is like, in a way, almost amplifying to them a security and moving forward, because it's almost this point of observation and being like, that's outside of our purview. Like that's outside of our like that is the only thing we can't control is like the element of chaos of circumstances and situations. And the masculine and feminine doing that work of rectification. This is why we see that there's so much of this energetic cleanup that they're doing right now, because this masculine and feminine that's letting that guide their path forward. And it feels like a point of like positivity to a certain extent, because again, while there is that feeling of ungroundedness, it's almost amplifying and saying everything else can be tackled. Everything else can be addressed. Everything else is doable beyond the unforeseen, as it were. Right? Masculine and feminine coming into divine union. This is about choices. This is about why the choice to remain in divine union is not a want it or done it. You don't just put a ring on it and you're there. You don't just say we're together now and you're together. It is a constant intentional choice that you make as to relates to where you put your time, effort, energy, and attention. For masculine and feminine, it is that moment of recognizing that, again, the energy is never going to be accommodating to the divine union coming into formation. It's never going to be ideal circumstances. The time for it to happen is the minute you make the intentional choice and say, I am making that happen now. So for masculine and feminine right now, there's almost this point of recognition that's happening in the divine union. If this is masculine going, we'll be in divine union in just a minute. I just need to talk to her because she and I, no. This is feminine being like, you just lost it. You just said to me that you aren't making a choice the both of us are agreeing to. You're doing this to build like there's no closure. There's nothing you can do that's going to make the circumstances ideal for the divine union. You can't use the divine union as impetus to try to heal something. The energy in the heart of the divine union is doing it right by intentionally making the choice to navigate things right now. You can't be halfway in the door and say, I'm just running back out again. This is like literally both energies saying, are you in or are you out? You can't dip back and forth into it and expect it to still be there. You just fall back into separation. Masculine, feminine, literally is almost articulating this right now to the masculine energy that's coming towards them if in separation. This is feminine energy saying, I was with energy that was always like, well, we'll move into this when it's ready. We'll move into that when it's ready. This is feminine going, that's ridiculous. Divine union is something that you make the intentional choice every single moment. You don't need to wait for it. You can just move into it. There's a point of building trust, but once you're able to find the place, you build it and you maintain it, but you have to start with the intention of desiring it in the first place. You can't sneak into it. You can't slip into it. You're not going to like stumble into it. You got to take the leap into it. You got to choose. You have to both be in that moment saying, this is what we want. This is why feminine right now is saying, I don't want to hear any energy that says maybe, if, this, that. Feminine's like, what do you want? Tell me, take that leap of faith. Tell me what it is that you want. Let me see if I can match you there. And feminine's like, again, if you are showing me a haziness in terms of what you want, feminine's like, you can walk in the other direction. Because that, in a way, is masculine saying to feminine, I don't know what I want. And then feminine's like, we can't go anywhere then. You know? That's like, okay, you're saying that you don't know what you want. That's nowhere. Masculine, feminine's, again, if this is new, if this is old energy coming to feminine, it has to come with intentionality. It has to come with recognizing this and saying, I am ready to start. I'm ready to leave that chaotic energy behind. I'm ready to start on that path with you. And it is feeling like that new beginning because, again, it's the observable energy recognizing like what the work needs to be able to do that. And especially if this is energy from the past, taking that accountability to articulate and amplify what didn't work in the past so that you can move forward in a better direction. Masculine or new energy that feminine's seeing, this is feminine literally saying, show me, tell me what you want by your words and also your choices. Masculine in separation right now, this is that moment of, again, wanting to have some desire of leaving some chaotic energy behind, because it's that point of recognizing that when you don't move with intention, you just get caught up in the chaos of the circumstances and situations. You have to move with intention. You have to decide what that path looks like. And if you create a state or space where you're not being clear on what that path looks like, well, don't be surprised if the feminine energy around you starts getting super unstable, because the feminine is almost like, again, trying to follow your lead to a certain extent in terms of you amplifying and articulating what that looks like. Masculine in this modality right now, this is that sense of purpose that's potentially coming into some circumstances and situations, but it starts with recognizing how you may not necessarily have had this in the past, how you may not necessarily have had this approach in this past, that you may have been moving more in a space of kind of like trying to fumble around and find what works or what clicks without recognizing that like you have to make it click by utilizing your own intentional purpose to amplify where it is that you want to go. So for masculine energy in this modality right now, there could be a lot of this feeling of, again, taking this like new approach for yourself is one that you're not only doing for yourself at this moment, but is almost like helping you navigate any kind of feeling of chaos, because you may be looking at a lot of these experiences from the past and feeling like, again, when I was a child, you acted like a child. You were moving in a state or space of just allowing the chaos to inhabit things, as opposed to moving with intentionality and purpose as to what you actually want in relationships and in partnership. You have to set that path. Masculine and feminine continuing forward right now between our Six of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Knight of Pentacles. May I have one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with the Six of Pentacles. Again, masculine and feminine right now in divine union. There is this moment right now that we are effectively seeing. Then again, for the masculine right now, it could be feeling a little frustrating. I got to say that for the energy in divine union right now, masculine may be feeling a little triggered, and you might just need to kind of like work through it right now, because masculine is having this moment. Masculine is feeling the severity of the Mercury retrograde a bit more right now. It's almost that like point of potentially like spiraling out, or allowing oneself to spiral out and be like, if things aren't moving, oh my goodness, they're never going to move again. That's it. Like this is, it could potentially lead to like a little bit of catastrophizing today. So just like being mindful of that, masculine. Don't let yourself get frustrated around these circumstances or situations. Just let this be a moment of helping yourself ground through any of those feelings or circumstances right now. Feminine, this is something that making sure that you're not triggered by seeing a masculine energy in this modality right now is going to be very important, because we do see that there is a little bit of like that the energy of the retrograde having a deeper impact on masculine right now that needs to be addressed and managed. Feminine energy, and again, this is the divine union. Like, this is the Mercury retrograde having that deeper impact right now, because again, it is giving me a lot of that energy of masculine feeling the weight of what feels like it is in the power to affect and control versus what feels like is around you right now. But again, this is just the time of year. This is a time of year. That slowdown we're effectively seeing is something that is like, even if it's ungrounded, it's making sure that you ground through it. That is so important at this time. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is that moment that we're effectively seeing that has everything to do with where you're putting your time, effort, energy, and attention right now. If this is masculine energy that's saying like, okay, cool, I know we found divine union, but I just need to slip out of it for a bit to take care of something. Or if this is masculine energy going, this is great that we found the divine union frequency, but I need to go talk to this person. I just need to resolve these things. Let them know I found this frequency. This is feminine being like, we're losing it again. Like, you're going to lose it again. Like, it's not going to be able to be maintained because, again, your choices, it's all about maintaining the consistency in your choices. And you're like pulling away and trying to like maneuver. It's like once found, it can be lost very quickly. So this is almost feminine being like, if we found this and you're utilizing distraction points to pull you back out, it's not something that you can just pop back on like a pair of running shoes. It's like you maintain it, it's consistent, or it could just disappear again, right? So moving in that modality right now is almost looking at feminine, is looking at masculine, to seeing if masculine, again, is one teaspooning things. Recognizing the value and importance in terms of what they're giving their time, effort, and energy in versus what is potentially pulling them out of the divine union frequency. Feminine recognizes to a certain extent they can't force the masculine to do this. They can try to warn them, they can try to say, they can try to articulate to them. But ultimately, if the masculine doesn't understand that, it falls out of the purview of the feminine to force or be able to force the masculine to do so. Which is why this could be creating for a lot of the energy slipping back into separation right now, a feeling of profound frustration, because this is almost a masculine that potentially is trying to say, don't worry, I'm doing this for the divine union, and feminine being like, no, you're not. You're doing it for you. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is that moment. But for the other energy, the energy staying in divine union, I will say this is masculine. That is one teaspooning it. This is masculine and feminine literally making the agreed upon decision in terms of those circumstances and situations that require the time, energy, and attention to say, this is what we're going to do to resolve it. This is what we're going to do to navigate it. Utilizing the we, not the I. And letting that we amplify the fact that if there's anything that needs to be addressed, you're doing so in unison. Masculine and feminine in separation, this is the feminine energy that is literally at a state and space where feminine's utilizing discernment right now and allowing new masculine towards them, but I'll be darned if they got patience. Feminine has very little patience right now for any energy of masculine that does not seem to know or identify what it is that they're truly seeking. If this is old energy coming back to feminine and it's trying to move in that state or space of enjoyment, feminine is almost saying pass. Like feminine's almost identifying right now that the masculine energy comes correct or they don't come at all. And feminine's got like little patience for anything that doesn't feel like it's coming towards the feminine with an understanding or an ability to articulate what their aspired desire is as it relates to partnership. If masculine can't identify that, feminine feels like masculine either doesn't understand or masculine is trying to intentionally be like lack that clarity of purpose. Feminine just doesn't want a part of it because that's feminine feeling like it just wastes their time. And feminine is coming in a state or space. It says the feminine's like almost arguing and amplifying that if there's one thing that the feminine cannot navigate is having their time wasted and not reciprocated. So even for the feminine right now in separation of communicating with masculine, it is potentially articulating to the masculine how little desire they have to have their time wasted or not reciprocated. Masculine, you may be feeling this right now if you're in separation. Either again, taking that point of accountability towards situations and circumstances from the past is almost requiring you to step forward to feminine and say, I was wasting your time in the past because I was not reciprocating what you were giving me. This is masculine taking that accountability point to be able to forge the connection points for the past by amplifying and articulating what they potentially did that did these things. Or masculine, this is a moment of building new connections with feminine, but recognizing that this is feminine energy with very little patience. Very little patience and and like almost having to navigate a lot of cynicism, because this is almost feminine that's looking at masculine with the assumption that the masculine is coming towards them with the intentionality of wasting the feminine energy's time for their own desire. So this is masculine, again, if you're on that healing journey, having to amplify and almost say, I know what that energy is. I know what you're afraid of. I may have even been in that vibration at some point in the past as well, because this is masculine. It's almost amplifying in that modality and saying, I recognize this. I'm even here to unpack it with you. Masculine and feminine, continuing to get clarification on these cards between our Knight of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Fool. One card to clarify, please. Three of Pentacles in its reversal. Masculine and feminine in divine union right now. This is the beauty of the energy in the divine union space, which is, again, it's the fact that even in the moments or situations or circumstances where energy doesn't match, the circumstances create that point of anxiety. The point that we see here is allowing for new opportunities of growth, new possibilities. And having that moment right now in looking at circumstances and situations and not letting them build that point of frustration, but more seeing them as rife ground to build, rife ground to create, letting that be that point right now is going to be very important, because for masculine and feminine right now, I have to stress making sure that you're not catastrophizing things right now, even in the divine union frequency. It's going to be very important, because we see here that the masculine energy may need a lot of support today. There may be some situations or circumstances that feel like they are trying to the masculine energy, but what we are really effectively identifying here is almost that moment that we see, that being able to ground in that, being able to allow that not to feel like that anxiety point building in terms of like not seeing something moving at the timeline that you would desire it to, but instead as an opportunity to build new experiences and opportunities right now is a point of perception shift. And it's going to feel like having to really ground and set that intention right now if you're in divine union, feminine and masculine. And feminine, you may need to kind of help masculine today to build that level or degree of that foundational feeling, because masculine is feeling, we're seeing here a little bit like some of their stability feels shaken right now because of the retrograde energy. And because effectively we also see that masculine leading from their heart space may be feeling some of the impact or the anxiety that's created in putting something forward that means a lot to you, but not knowing how it will be received. Masculine and feminine coming into the divine union frequency. This is that moment that we effectively see that is amplifying whether this is going to be pulling you out of the divine union right now, or if you're letting this build that new foundation that you're creating for yourselves at this moment. Because again, it's going to be hard for masculine right now, because it's potentially feeling like you're very triggered to put your effort and energy and tension in things right now. And feminine almost amplifying to you and saying, don't. Let this be an opportunity to do something differently. Let this be a moment of making that choice to move together, and recognizing for masculine in a way, it does feel like something that, like, again, this is almost feminine energy. And I think that one of the things we're seeing here with feminine is almost amplifying, especially coming into the divine union frequency, is this point of optics that we're seeing of feminine almost saying, be mindful of how you use your energy. Be mindful, be curatorial on where you put your energy. Are you going to allow this? This is a moment, this is almost feminine amplifying to masculine, saying this is very tender territory we're in right now. This is energy where you're just coming into the divine union. And this is a moment that you have to be very, very fastidious and pay attention to see what feels like it is helping grow something in the proper way, laying the right foundations, versus distracting you or moving you out of what you are creating with another energy right now. So for the masculine energy, it is feeling more like a point that feels somewhat destabilizing, specifically because it feels like you need to let something go, only giving something a little bit of your time, effort, energy, and attention, especially if it's trying to pull you out of the divine union frequency, that 1 teaspoon. Feminine energy in separation right now, this could be the moment that we're seeing that this is masculine energy that just did this. This could be a moment that we're effectively seeing right now where it's like we're almost identifying that this is feminine energy that's seeing a masculine that potentially, again, if they just moved into separation, that's like, it's cool, we're moving into divine union. I just need to do this one thing. I just need to talk to this person. You're like, it's already like, it's like the barrel, like the barrel just dropped out, and they like, fell through the floor, if you will, because this person, like it's like the inability to let something go is amplifying why something cannot remain consistent. And this, for the feminine right now, it's almost amplifying the frustration point, potentially even on building new experiences with masculine, which is why we see feminines not stopping one moment, but proceeding forward in this way, because this is feminine energy that's feeling like the problem with the masculine energy around them right now in separation is a lack of an ability to be consistent, to hold forth. Feminine's almost looking at this right now, not from a point of personal anxiety. This is not a problem of feminine feeling like this is something that the feminine can control. This is feeling like masculine lacks an ability to be consistent. And that lack of consistency is, again, what feminine has no time, patience, or tolerance for right now. This is feminine energy. Literally, when masculine shows that ability of being inconsistent, this is not a feminine energy that's willing to be patient with the masculine in this right now. This is feminine energy that just immediately moves in the other direction. So this is feminine, again, almost holding masculine energy in separation to a very specific standard, because this is feminine energy saying you either need to understand what it is that it takes to maintain divine union. I can't force it out of you. You need to bring it forth to me. You need to show me that you have that desire and ability to come into it, or you don't. So for feminine right now, this is literally almost being able to like build that level or degree of discernment with masculine. They're almost, feminine's almost like ready to walk away from any masculine that doesn't feel like they have this ability to be able to articulate what it is that they truly desire in a union, or is showing some inability to be consistent in what they're trying to receive or get from the feminine right now. Feminine's just continuing forward. Feminine's almost doing like a next approach. Like this is feminine being like, I'm moving this way. This is feminine almost saying in separation, I'm staying in that frequency myself right now. If you want to join me there, you have to recognize that you need to be intentional in your actions. You need to be able to stay in that. You can't just pop in and out of it. Masculine energy and feminine almost like literally saying like, this is feminine looking at something and being like, I'm not trying to find you to stay in there. Feminine's like, I'm finding it for myself. And utilizing discernment and saying that this is the change for the feminine. This is feminine saying, I'm going this way. You can either show me, if you want to move with me in this way, you have to prove that you're also capable of doing this. Because feminine's like, I'm not chasing after you to try to get that. I've already almost like found it. Feminine separation is almost like, I found that piece for myself. This is where I'm moving. Like this is not something that feminine is trying to chase after masculine for, because feminine's almost found that, again, this is feminine that like, found that for themselves and is staying in that vibration. Masculine in separation right now, this is literally feminine saying to masculine, I'm not letting you disrupt my healing journey. You're either on the path, on the healing journey, or you're not. And if you don't understand that, feminine's like, I can't begin to explain it to you. Masculine energy in separation right now, this is that moment that you may be feeling like, again, a process of release potentially occurring right now, because again, it is a moment of surrendering that idea or circumstance that you can bring the divine union to someone like a ball. Like, hello, here's that ball that you wanted, because that isn't what divine union is. It is a frequency that you maintain. It is something that you need to set forth with intentionality. So for masculine energy in this modality right now, that understanding, that recognition of being able to grow in that way is also you embarking on your own healing journey. And what's beautiful about it is that masculine, you're doing so because it feels like a path that you aspire to be on, not because you feel like someone is trying to force it out of you. Final card for today's spread between our 7 of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our 3 of Pentacles. In its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our 4 of Wands. Masculine and feminine in divine union right now. This is that moment that is helping navigate immediate, momentary setbacks and hurdles by keeping one's eye on the prize. That sense or that set of leveling and building that, what you're building for yourselves right now, keeping that clarity of purpose, allowing that to guide you forward right now, is helping you through any of those setbacks or situations that may be cropping up due to the Mercury retrograde energy. It's almost that moment that, like, again, you're building and creating those opportunities for yourself because you're moving on that determinative path in terms of recognizing and sharing that ability to discuss and build towards what it is that you're trying to see, like, again, up around the next horizon. More than anything right now, masculine and feminine are just amplifying those spaces and places where they feel like they don't have that level or degree of optics, just being almost a point of being able to help shift their own focus, if you will. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union. What we're effectively seeing here is masculine and feminine coming into the divine union frequency. This is all about where you're putting your time, effort, and energy. The problem with this right now is if the energy is utilizing that point of far optics to pull themselves out of the frequency, right? Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency right now, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. That is something that is amplifying and reinforcing the heavy work that you're doing now. If masculine and feminine have found divine union and someone's going, wait, no, I'll be back in the divine union in just a minute. I just need to do this. I need to go here. I need to do that. I need to do this. This is masculine and feminine that's effectively almost recognizing that you're no longer in the frequency, because it's almost that moment of trying to anticipate and say that ability to be able to put it up and pick it back down is exactly like you're missing the purpose. You're missing the plot. You're missing it. It's not something that you can anticipate. It's something that you need to embody at every single moment. It's not something that you do one and then the other. It's a place that you inhabit, that everything else falls into place around it. So again, if masculine and feminine is trying to say, well, before this happens, I need to talk to this person. I need to do that. I need to do this. This is almost the energy immediately through like their own ratio of what they're trying to put their effort and energy and attention in is almost amplifying like where they actually would prefer to be, as opposed to actually being in the vibration of the energy. And that's why we see that a lot of energy potentially is falling into separation right now, because it's that moment that is effectively saying, like, are you staying here in the divine union? Or do you think that this is like a revolving door situation where you can leave it and come back and expect it to still be here? Because it won't. Masculine and feminine that are maintaining this is why we see that you're making those intentional choices together in terms of what you're putting your time, effort, and energy into that feels like it's creating those distraction points, because it's that moment of feeling like you're not going anywhere. You've already arrived where you need to be. Like you can't leave it because you're already inhabiting it. It's just changing the way you're experiencing and impacting, and you're doing it together. It's that moment of saying to yourself, you don't need to like depart from each other because you're always in it. And making those choices is how you maintain that space and place together. It's a way of being. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is that moment that we're effectively seeing wherein feminine is almost amplifying their own frustration point with energy that feels like they've kind of built that sense of not wanting to curate that experience the way that they desire. This is feminine almost saying, I inhabit this space, I create this, I need to have energy with me that recognizes that this is not something that you can just, give. This is something that needs to be created between someone else together. And this is feminine looking at masculine energy right now and saying, do you understand? Do you understand the difference between saying that you want to be together or actually moving as divine union energy? Being able to inhabit that space. Do you understand the difference? Because this is feminine almost trying to amplify to masculine saying, I aspire for that. Do you as well? And do you recognize that it is going to mean that we need to blend our experiences? We need to think about things from the we perspective instead of telling each other what we're doing. Moving in again, coming into union is coming into union. It's not something that you can just build a time, date, or space on. It's something that you always inhabit. Feminine's almost saying, because I'm doing it myself. Feminine's literally like saying, I'm doing it myself right now. I'm already there. I can't do it for you. This is feminine looking for other energy on that healing journey. Masculine in separation right now. This is that moment that we are effectively seeing that you are, again, building that point on your own healing journey where you're also understanding that a lot of what you're working through right now is this point of feeling to a certain extent that you have to kind of find that ability to inhabit how you're trying to heal in the present. That there's a moment right now of coming into that healing space that feels like it's not necessarily a destination. It's one that you've already arrived in. And more if you're in that modality right now, the hurdle or the difficulty that you're potentially experiencing is trying to move now in a state or space of finding energy that also or similarly is on that same path. But it is feeling like a bit of a challenge right now because for masculine energy in this modality, having that point of observation is almost creating a space or place where, again, you have to be able to articulate to the feminine energy that you've arrived in that modality. And it's hard because, again, this is either masculine energy that recognizes that you need to take accountability in terms of helping feminine energy understand that you've found that path for yourself and thus you can meet the feminine there, or this is masculine energy that is trying to find feminine energy that is further and also on that same healing journey. And it's coming from being in a state or space of almost feeling like you're currently there and you're just looking for someone to also share that space with. Bottom of the deck on this reading today is Two of Wands. Communication, communication, communication. Now, masculine and feminine, right? Now in divine union, it's a slowdown of communication right now that is effectively the problem to an extent. Because what we're effectively seeing right now for the energy in divine union right now, there's this moment that there is the feeling of what you're putting forth and waiting to see what comes back in kind right now that feels a little like that, again, masculine's being more anxious about that right now because it's like masculine starting to doubt their own self right now in the process as they move forward with this heart opening work. Feminine in this modality right now, we're almost seeing in divine union, is a little bit more inclined to navigate that. But being able to facilitate and continue to have healthy communication even through a trigger point right now is going to be very difficult because we see that both energies right now, even in divine union, are feeling some of the weight of the Mercury retrograde bearing down on them to a certain degree. So grounding and communication and healthy communication is key right now. Masculine and feminine right now in divine, coming into the divine union frequency. This has to do with communication as well, because again, there's this moment that feels like there's energy around you right now, and navigating how you are communicating with the energy that feels like it is putting weight on the divine union is key right now, because it is how you are expressing yourself, what you are communicating, that is amplifying whether the divine union is the priority right now, or if you're letting that yourself fall out of that frequency by energy putting force on it. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is feminine feeling that point or frustration with communication with the masculine. These are difficult conversations that we're seeing. Feminine is literally trying to unpack difficult things with masculine, like showing in a way like their underbelly as it relates to communication right now, to see and amplify and say, masculine, can you do the same? Can you be this vulnerable? Can you show me that you are healing because you can accommodate and account for the moments that you were not healed in the past? So for both energies right now, there is that feeling of potential frustration in communication, because it's almost that amplification point in terms of recognizing and understanding whether the energy is moving in the same space or modality. Feminine still feeling very guarded and closed off. Feminine's waiting for masculine in a way to like amplify that they're in this modality, because masculine's almost, feminine's like, I'm not, feminine's almost like trying to ascertain right now if the energy around them feels like it is in that healing vibration, or if it doesn't understand what that work looks like. Masculine, this is trying to amplify. How does one amplify that you have healed and changed when the energy around you is so closed off and guarded? That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a reading on my website, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in these messages. And we will do this again tomorrow. Guys, it's a good